afternoon, everybody. I'm here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We're having a hybrid event, live event. Many of you are in the US, Jamaica. We have people from Trinidad, even Europe. I want to thank everybody for being present here. My name is Hector Negron. I'm the CEO of Optimus Business Transformation. Let me change the slide here. 1 second. Okay, it's just saying that we're being live streamed too. We're also doing this in Facebook Live. Oh. No. There we go. My name is Hector Negron. Oh. Okay, now it's working. So my name is Hector Negron. I'm the CEO and founder of Optimus Business Transformation. I'll speak about a second about who we are. But I want to start out the tone with this, and I'll circle back at the end of the presentation. This is key. This is a key message I want to give everybody here. So Edward Deming, he's a prestigious data scientist. He's also one of the co-authors and inventors of TQM, Total Quality Management. Also one of the awards in business in the US. One of the most prestigious one is the annual Edward Deming Award. He said that without data, you're just another person with an opinion, right? This also applies to business, and we'll circle back. Mark Twain said that when you have 2 watches, 2 clocks, you'll never be able to tell the correct time. So when you have data, let's say in a warehouse management, sitting on one system, in one database, and you have an ERP that's going to be syncing, right? Or field services, et cetera. That means sometime or another, the data will be versus the reality of the business will not be based while that interface gets going. That means that you're going to have to reconcile. It will never be real time. Why? Because you have 2 sources of truth. At a given time, both the ERP can be giving you the truth, the WMS can be giving you the truth, but since they haven't synced, you don't have one source. So one source, one truth. So who's Optimus Business Transformation? A lot of you know us. We're based out of Miami, Florida. We're also in Orlando. We're here in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico, in Trinidad, Jamaica. We just opened up in Argentina, Peru, Colombia. We're also in Venezuela, Mexico, and Honduras. We cater to certain, so the first 2 rows are the verticals, let's say, who are best known or the strongest. The last row is the vertical. So we're a more vertical integrated company. Just like every company, we're going to bring up the awards. Very important with Microsoft, which is VP. We have 3 gold. We have 3 golds and 2 silver competencies with them. So work from home, soft touch. 5 years before COVID, we were already doing that. And people said that we were crazy. How can we have people working from home and sometimes coming to the office? 2 years after COVID, people are saying we're visionary. So we've had that model for always. We can definitely implement it. And then within our vertical approach, these are a lot of the solutions we implement. We always try, if we don't do it completely, we try to have them running in one database, which means one source, one truth. So the agenda for today, we're going to go over the history of PP, AX, all of that. I know history is a little bit boring, but Ukraine, Russia war, there's a lot of history there. That's not new. DP, Business Central, where we are, it's not new. There's a lot of history there. And in order to understand what's happening, and with the versions and with the support, we need to understand what's been happening up until now. In 3 minutes or less, and I promise you can time me, we're gonna give you the reason why you need a modern ERP. I'm calling it a MERP, modern ERP, like MPS, modern POS. So nobody can copyright that. I guess I'm better than that. How does Dynamics 365 Business Central compare to GP? We can spend 4 hours in there. This is not a sales presentation. We're going to do it very high level. So everybody takes a sense of what you have and what would be one of your upgrade paths. And I'm saying one of them. And we're calling it the high grade, right? Because moving from GP, see, I didn't say upgrade, moving from GP to Business Central is not really a new implementation, but it's also not an upgrade and a migration. I'm calling it a migrate because it's a hybrid of a migration and an upgrade, and we'll explain why. And then right now we're sitting in a case study. So I'm going to do this very quickly, a lot of content. We're going to start with a 30,000-foot view. That's why we're doing the history, and then we're going to land this bait. So history, as I promised everybody. So I know a lot of you are sitting here. We're confused, right? We've been confused for a while. We go to a Microsoft event and they start talking about Microsoft 365 and this and that. And then we call somebody Microsoft and they have no idea this and that. So my goal here is in approximately 5 or 7 minutes. I think Hector, I'm signed out. Hector, you need to sign out the other phone. Okay. You need to. Did you sign into the other phone? No.
Pero déjame ver si yo creo que todavía está streaming. Dame como.
Are we still signed in? You're seeing me on camera. Give me 1 second.
We are seeing the camera and we are seeing the presentation. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. If something happens, call Chibi and let him know if I face out. Thank you.
Sure.
So you can a square peg in a round hole. When Microsoft did all the acquisitions, systems were a little bit more horizontal. They tend to have a niche. That's why we evaluated multiple vendors. Now, Dynamics GP history. This is our slide. It's our IP, our information. I even color coded it for everybody here so we can understand it. 80s, 90s, that's where GP and Navision were born, 80s or 90s. A quick fact about GP in the 80s and 90s, Doug Bergen was a CEO. He was also Steve Ballmer's roommate. Steve Ballmer from Microsoft as CEO. Great Plains started and actually on an Apple PC. Great Plains was an Apple PC product. Then in 2001 and 2002, Microsoft acquired both GP and Navision, GP being the first system. Bergen stayed on as CEO, so obviously he was pushing his products. When that acquisition happened, Business Central, Navision, had a big presence in Europe, and they were very small in the Americas. Most of the implementations were customers headquartered in Europe and headquartered in Asia that had subsidiaries in the Americas, except Colombia and Mexico, where there was, let's say, a native install base in Business Central. On the flip side, GP, most of the install base was in the US, North America, and it was primarily, it had a lot in the Caribbean and in Colombia, Venezuela, and everywhere else. And in Europe, they were small. So that's why there's not a lot of GP consultants in Europe and vice versa over here. And then there's a reason why for the last 5 years, Optimus has acquired and been hiring people in Colombia, Mexico. So we actually bring in that IP that has existed for almost 20 years over there. 2005, 2006, this is where it gets interesting. Microsoft starts changing the branding from Great Plains to Dynamics GP. A lot of you, I know, lived through that. And Navision to Dynamics NAV. Now I'm going to concentrate on NAV. On the NAV side, Microsoft around 2016, 2017, they started using the Dynamics 365 branding, like Office 365. And that's where Microsoft started putting a lot of money in web, in Dynamics NAV. It's not called Business Central yet. Artificial intelligence, BI, etc. We're in 2022. And you don't put BI, machine learning, and all of this in a year. It takes time. On the GP side, that did not happen. The most we got on the GB side was in 2013. Microsoft started doing a web user interface for GP. They actually went through 3 technologies, threw 2 of them in the trash can, and today it's limited. On the Business Central side, Microsoft did make it 100% software as a service, cloud software, GP. No, and it's not going to be there. It's not in the roadmap. And remember the MERP, modern ERP. That's where you actually right now, a Business Central or Navision became a MERP, and GP stayed as a regular ERP. So this is my slide. I drew this, so I like to put dates so we can everything we discussed. Now let's put it on a graph. Here you'll see that, yeah, here's a pointer. Different colors are matched. So as a summary, Dynamic CRM, Microsoft has changed that and branding a whole bunch of times. We're going to call it customer engagement or CRM. Nav became Business Central. AX became Dynamics 365 FinOps or Financial Ops. They all got AI, advanced workflow, machine learning, tight integration to Office, and this can go on and on. And you see that GP and SL, Microsoft left it behind. There is no other words of putting. I'm a very straightforward person, so I'm not going to be politically. On a different graph that we did, and I also use the color coding, I want everybody here to understand mid-market and how Microsoft mapped this to the mid-market, to the enterprise market. Enterprise market under the US defines that typically as companies with 4 or 5 billion US in sales or higher. It depends on the analyst, right? So that's basically mid-market is everything else up to small business. So basically the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, we're all mid-market, even most US companies. So when we hear, for example, in Salesforce and SAP and Oracle, that's where Microsoft mapped FinOps. When we hear Sage, SAP Business One, Salesforce, ACPAC, NetSuite, everybody else, that's where Microsoft mapped it to Business Central. So this is very well thought out, and there's been a lot of R&D going on in there. Did Microsoft go back and forth? They definitely did. So this is something small or fun that we put together, but it's to compare these concepts, right, around technology. And we think about when I said GP Nav were born 80s and 90s. So here we're seeing a commercial from Toyota Corolla. I don't know if you remember some of these commercials, Brad Pitt, then and now, right? Times have evolved. The message, right? A picture paints 1,000 words. I say a video paints 1,000,000. What we're trying to paint here is, even though, a lot of times we say, hey, GP works, a lot of you, others don't. Most of you who are here who say GP works still say, I can't get reports out of GP. One source, one truth, right? So part of it is if we're still driving a 1980, 1990 Toyota, and it's 2023 and we're going up a slope and we want to go 100 miles per hour, that motor back then wasn't made to do what cars are doing today, right? Unless you have a pretty good Camaro or Mustang. As a quick recap, what we have here is, so you can see, I can put GB up there and it's the same thing. So, what's the difference? What's in it for you or in GP? Even though it's an ERP structure like GP, so that rhymes, like GP. So even though it's like that, and it has finance and it's basically an ERP just like everywhere else, but Dynamics Business Central has about 35 to 40% more functionality and reporting capabilities than GP. And so it's more sophisticated, bigger. And I'm not talking about technology. I'm not throwing in machine learning or AI in there. Just talking basic ERP functionality. This is another slide then, right? So Microsoft rebranded, right? They love to rebrand. And basically they took Dynamics Nav. Imagine you bought a house, you're going to remodel it. It's a 30, 40-year-old house. You take everything inside and out. You strip the house, you just leave the walls and the foundation, and you put tiles, you paint it, you put all the electrical. It's a new house, but it's not a new house. So that's what happened to Dynamics Nav when it went to Business Central. Microsoft, it's not a new ERP, but it's basically new at the same time. GP has not been remodeled yet. So now we have this over here. And now Microsoft 365. I know we keep on hearing what Microsoft. Yes, it is a sales term, by the way. It's not a product per se, but it represents a tool set or a group of products under the Microsoft branding. So in that product, under Microsoft 365, we have CRM with field services. That's totally embedded. That's one system, customer service, sales, etc., XRM. And then we have Business Central, which was NAV. They've already been intertwined by Microsoft. I'll show you briefly, 15, 30 seconds, a couple of slides. By the way, anybody who wants these slides, we can share them after the event. So just send our operations team an email and we can share them. We also built a 100-page white paper. Does not exist. We went into detail, finance, distribution, SOP, technology, SaaS. So a lot of slides here are actually from that white paper. So we're also releasing the white paper next week for people. So basically what's Microsoft 365? It's a Dynamics platform running on Office 365 with Power Apps. Yeah, Flow is part of Power Apps and Power BI, I know, but a lot of people don't know that. Azure, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Silver Lakes, whatever we want to call it, depending on the month and the branding Microsoft gives it, but it's all of this. You can also get this like Lego blocks. You can get it all together or you can get it separated. So Microsoft 365 is a bundling of all these other solutions. In here, FinOps and Business Central, which is AX, and which is AX, and it's also Navision or GP. So this is where it gets interesting. This is where your money, all your investment that you guys put in GP, this is where it starts getting somewhat interesting. And as Walter Edward Deming said, without data, all we have is an opinion. We're getting a lot of opinions out there. GP is going away. You'll get a Microsoft sales guy coming in. By the way, Microsoft salespeople only get commissions on the cloud. They don't get commissions on GP or NAV or Solomon anymore. So more data or where all of this is going, right? So I'm not talking bad about Microsoft. I'm not talking good. I'm just giving data out there. So, and that's the purpose of here. So Microsoft has two support policies. They have the modern life cycle and the fixed life cycle. Fixed old, like I'm putting here, and modern means new. Basically, what Microsoft has GP right now was in a fixed life cycle, and then it's going to modern. Let me explain both of them. Fixed, you had 5 years on Main Street support, which means regular support. You're going regular to the hospital and the doctor and getting, treatment. And then you get another 5 years of what I call life support, which is basically no bug fixes. Microsoft doesn't fix anything. It's more you call them and it's a yes and no question and answer. Or if you want to pay $500 per incident and about $300 an hour for them to fix something, then you can go over and then they'll try to find one of their old consultants to do that. So the last part of the 5 years, you're being put out to pasture, sunset, and lawn. So right now, and I'll show you where GP 2018, 18, 16, and all the different versions are in a second. So I know a lot of you are thinking of that. What's modern? Modern is Microsoft takes 3 times a year. They're already doing it in CRM. They're already doing it in Business Central and in FinOps. So 3 times a year, and they use telemetry and other technologies to do this themselves. They release enhancements or they give it a little bit more 3 times a year, right? That they basically do it automatically on the cloud without interaction of consultants or of the customers. So that's bad for me, consulting company. That's less revenue for me because it's less upgrades. It's less testing and everything I need. We need to do, except in GP. So GP is going to modern, and a lot of you are saying, "Oh, that sounds fine." No, it's not, because in GP means, and I'll show it in a graph in a second. You have to upgrade to 18.3, and there you're going to start getting the modern life cycle, which is 3 changes a year. but Microsoft doesn't push those changes. You have to do them. So that means you put doing it in a test environment. If you have integration developments, retesting everything else after you test it, giving a little, so, or you do one upgrade per year. So why? Because in the modern life cycle, Microsoft only supports the current year. They don't support the previous year. So once they pass a year, next one, next one, next one, next one. So before, we could install a version today, jump the next one, and then get the other one, or upgrade every 3 or 4 years. Now Microsoft is basically requiring all of you to upgrade once a year, which it's a little bit tough, unless you go to Business Central, everything else, where they're pushing those enhancements to you, and you save a lot of the internal work and costs. Now, this is what I said. I'm just going to jump the slide. I'll share it. These are the time frames. So you see here, GP 13, 2015, 2016, July last year. This means all of these versions in GP right now are outside of the current or mainstream support, and it's thrown over to the patch or retirement. So you'll see here that GP 2015 has a, so basically these are in retirement right now. 2018 are 2 up until 18.2. We have less than a year before Microsoft passes it to the, let's say, unsupported support. Here's another graph that we're showing here, shows the same information. I just like to show graphs, picture paints 1,000 words. And basically we'll see here, by the way, I'll show you where I got this from. Basically GP, as we know it, is about to go to this new modern support system. By the way, it's new. So Microsoft's starting to push it now. And we all know Microsoft version 1, there's going to be some issues there. This is the website where you can get the information. Again, we can send the PowerPoints. Proof of concept, this is the Microsoft website. I got this. What I did find interesting about their website, which is where all this information is coming from on support and roadmap, is you'll see here where it says upgrades for GP. See what they put here. They're putting as upgrades Business Central. So there isn't, and this is not conspiracy theory, this is data. These are hard facts. So no, Microsoft's not saying you have to upgrade to one thing or another. They haven't published anything, but they are recommending in there that type of upgrade. This is just facts data. So we're just stipulating here that Business Central, since the year April 2020, they've been already working on this modern support plan. So they already went through all the kinks. So I promise that in 3 minutes or less, I would build a case why you need a modern ERP. We did this, 7.8 billion people across the world, right? Check this out. The top 4 world populations are social media, followed by China, India. Then we're going to get somewhere in there, the US, and number 8 is Twitter. So Elon Musk now is the president and CEO of the 8th biggest population in the world. Not conspiracy theory, because I thought it's a fun fact. And again, this is our research that we're trying to do here. And we'll go through Uber and Airbnb and some interesting things. That data, that's 8-9 years, that happened already. Where in our economy today, we have taxi companies and we have hotel companies that own property, and they're the biggest in the world. So the way we do business has definitely changed. I love this because it shows how fast we're changing. It took Angry Birds 35 days to get to 50 million people. It took the telephone 75 years to get to 50 million people. So the speed of adoption with the current consumer, remember these kids, we live behind a little screen. Over 50% of online sales, and I think it's in the 60s now, I don't have the final data, is done through a mobile device. It's not done through a PC, it's not done through a monitor, it's done through a mobile device then. And again, I'm going back here. comparing the old and the new. Again, I'm not trying to beat down GP, but if we think about it, what we were doing 30, 40 years ago when GP came around, what we've implemented today is a lot of the same source code. It still uses dexterity, has the same source code as 30 or 40 years ago. And we want to run a business, a modern business today, faced with all these challenges. So we do need a modern ERP that can give us data fast. We need a modern ERP that can take PayPal, that can give us reporting, that can give us feedback. Why, with all this technology, do we have to run report to know that we're running out of cash? Why doesn't a system tell us in 2 weeks? By the way, we'll show you in a second. We're actually running out of cash. So this is a funny slide, right? I like it when I have a lot of Republicans, Democrats, the red and the blues in the room, and I get different different reactions. Very interesting is our span right now of a goldfish is 8 seconds. The attention span of a human being is 7 seconds. So that tells you how much time you have here to engage your customer or engage an employee. So it's becoming fast. Marketing, YouTube, video content. You know, you're seeing here, we're not beating you guys down with PowerPoints, and I probably did a 3-minute presentation here that would have taken me at least half an hour to do. And with that said, we're gonna get a very well-known analyst here who analyzes demographics. He also analyzes Eric Coleman. He also analyzes economies, etc. He's written various books, well-known author also. And basically, we have to be ready. We have to go through digital transformation. And digital transformation, if it happened 10 years ago, it's no longer digital transformation. So here's a quick message from Microsoft. Hector, am I getting any audio there? No?
Yep, we're hearing you just fine.
That's a short video. We're gonna lose more time. Just. So I'm gonna give you a crash course on SaaS, on premise, subscription, and everything else. I bet you that in 3 minutes, I'll teach you, and you can explain this to anybody else, even a technology sales guy or sales girl, lady. User interface. So what are the user interfaces in the system and why that's important for SaaS? In order to be software as a service, you have to run on the cloud. And I'll explain in a second what software as a service. First, let's understand where GP is at and where Business Central is at. Number one is Business Central is already 100% web-based. It's responsive. Responsive means that if you open it up in a tablet, in an iPad, if you open it up in an Android tablet, and a phone, if you open it up in a large small monitor, the screen adapts and it's user-friendly. Right, so that's the user interface. And Business Central can run on the cloud 100% with Microsoft, or it can run completely independently as on-premise. GP on the flip side it's a desktop solution. There's some web, I would say, makeup that was put in it, but it's really a desktop client server solution. It is not pure SaaS. Microsoft is not taking it on a SaaS model. Actually, if you Google Microsoft Dynamics GP 365, it'll take you to a Microsoft website. And when you open up the Microsoft website, it's Business Central. So this is an example of basically the screens. Something that you're seeing here is there's machine learning that's happening behind here and AI. And there's also Power BI happening over here automatically. Over here, we're getting more context. Important point here, again, as a recap, Business Central web browser, it also has a mobile app for Android or iOS. You go to the store, it's for free. We use it internally in Optimus. Now, this is where I'm going to give everybody here the training. So how you pay for software is very different how you run it. So a lot of people are here saying subscription and or the cloud and you buy it and there's a lot of confusion. First thing is separated in your heads. How you pay is very different than how you run it. So number one, I'm going to give you some definitions here. Perpetual, that means you buy the software, you pay the software one time with a yearly maintenance enhancement fee. That's typically a fixed asset. It's also good depending on your tax situation. So that's how you pay for it. Or subscription, rent, pay monthly, typically a lease or an expense that you do it on a monthly basis or even on a yearly basis. So that's how you pay for it. How you run it is different. You can have on-premise, on-site. So that means I have the software and a server in my company. So you can have it on-premise, hosted, cloud, or off-site. So that means you can buy the software or you can rent it, right? Remember paying? You can have all these combinations that you can think of between these two. I should do a table next time. So you can have it, you can have it in Amazon Web Services. Yes, we do have people in Amazon Web Services. Microsoft, you're out there. I know you're going to tell me. Google, Cloud, Azure, Calitech. We prefer Azure. But this is, so basically you buy the software, you just put it there, or you rent the software and you put it there, but nobody from Microsoft or any are touching it. Then you have the on cloud, which refers to SaaS, software as a service. So that basically means the manufacturer, Oracle does it with NetSuite, Salesforce does it, Microsoft does it. They run the software on their cloud and they also co-administrate it. And the word is co-administrated. So we can have a whole session, the benefits are one or the other. Actually, that could be another session for another day, but we don't have enough time. So GP is only on premise. If you go back, you can't lease this, you have to buy it. There was some exceptions in the past that you can lease users, that's gone away. But now you have to buy it. You pay a yearly fee and you can put it anywhere you want. This is where it gets interesting here, but it's not pure SaaS. Business Central, you have the pure SaaS model with Microsoft, which I've already explained. You can have it on premise, on a private cloud like AWS or your own in-house cloud. So you can have it on premise in a local server inside your four walls. You can have it on premise, private cloud. You can have it on premise, local server, and then all of this you can rent or buy. So right now, Microsoft in this application is giving you, let's say, the most flexibility. As I mentioned before, GP only has annual updates. That's gone away. And we're still with Business Central. That's on the modern support system. This is more informational. When you get the deck, you can read it. I summarized a lot of that already. Machine learning. Did we ever fix the audio or we didn't? No? Okay. So I had a video here with voice because I can't demo it. But we were going to show you. Let me jump something here. And this has voice to it.
No, it is with voice.
So there's a video, there's a demo machine learning. It's about 5 minutes. And what's interesting is within Business Central, you can click in there and you go to a machine learning tool set like a Visio. And you, the customer, you have the power of also doing some of those setups and that programming to get different type of data that you want out of the machine learning. In that demo also, you would see there's machine learning in inventory, in cash, and sales, and different parts. For example, somebody's working, right? Who works on cash flow. All of a sudden, something pops up on the screen and it says, "Hey, Josue, you're going to run out of cash in 2 weeks. you better get in, right? And so the system is actually pinging you as you're working throughout different modules and purchasing, hey, you're about to run out of this SKU. So you don't have to run a report or run a replenishment, even a whole replenishment run in order for the system to tell you you're going to run out of this. So again, timing. Imagine you're about to put an order, right? A lot of us are islanders here and in the web. You're about to put a container in the US to come over. You just finished sending the order. 3 hours later, you find out that you ran out of something later. So the system is interactive. Azure machine learning, I mentioned that. So these are some of the functionalities. You have machine learning and cash flow forecasting. So the system forecasts and tells you. You have machine learning and purchasing in other areas. Something else that you have with BC, so now we're comparing a little bit BC with GP, the functionality you get aside, is the tight integration with Office 365. So it's not only tightly embedded with Office 365, also with Teams and PowerPoint. Right now, from Dynamics 365, my collections people who are collecting accounts receivable, a lot of you in here, they actually are calling directly from Dynamics. So they press a button within Dynamics with your agent in front of them, and the call goes through Dynamics, and then it logs the call within Dynamics. Integration with Office, picture paints 1,000 words. You can see it here. Outlook, for example, has links your Outlook contacts with Business Central. You can also have it synchronized. And you can query documents from SC inside of Business Central, inside of Outlook. So just like you search a document and it goes to your hard drive and this and that, you can search. When you do a search, it can go to Business Central and also bring the data straight from Outlook. Let me see what else. Integration with other tools. Actually, so this is Noel, one of our consultants. These screenshots are ours. We did not copy these PowerPoints from anybody else. I actually had a GP consultant sit with a Business Central consultant, and they did this. And one of the things I told them was, let's not kill GP. This is not about demeaning GP. We still love GP. GP is a great system. But I said, when you do this, it's not about selling. It's about what you want to tell the GP people that they get over here. So that's all. Power BI. This is pretty cool. Power BI extensions. They exist with Business Central and GP. It's a little bit of pretty light framework. SharePoint reports can be embedded in Business Central and viewed without leaving the system. So you don't have to go to Power BI to run a Power BI report. You're inside of Business Central and you're running Power BI reports, or you can have Power BI reports already embedded on the screen. So for example, if I go to account receivable screen, I can have a Power BI analysis of account receivable. And when the person's working, it's just one of the plugins in there. This one was. You can jump between Power BI, I already said that. You can view reports. So those are screenshots with what I just said. Dynamic CRM, I already showed you the graph where they're already, let's say, being embedded by Microsoft. Every release, remember there's 3 releases a year. It's more and more embedded. Something that's happening in my business, right? We have about 40, 50, 40, yeah, we have 42, 45. Just hired a couple more people, CRM users. We also use Business Central. I'm not looking as a business owner. I'm not looking anymore. The ERP does this and the CRM does that, right? Because great example, accounts receivable. Accounts receivable, you do an invoice, there's a statement that's on the ERP side. But when you call a customer, right, you take notes. I'll have the payment next week. I'm missing this invoice. Send this. That's a CRM workflow. That's a CRM workflow. So something that's happening with me personally right now is I'm doing a total re-engineering of the company. I hired somebody full-time to do that. And I'm starting the process from point A, and that's going back from CRM to the ERP. But for the end users, my employees, they're just doing one-sided, which is 365. So that's a paradigm that, definitely we have here in the system that's changing. Integration with other tools. I love this one, PayPal. And I'm going to do a quick time check here. I'll be done in about 10 minutes, about 3:55, and Mr. Machado will come up to the front for a couple of minutes. Oh, this one. This one, I don't know if it's public yet. You can Google it, but I was in Orlando in a conference 3 weeks ago. Shopify, Microsoft executives were there. They just announced that just as Microsoft did with PayPal, full integration, there's now full integration with Shopify. And so, will it work out of the box? I don't know. It's a version 1. It is. Who's going to be providing it? Shopify and Microsoft are both going to be providing it. So you're going to be able to extend your business. You're going to be able to open up 365 days of the year. Optimus also has a connector to Shopify and GP. And we also have a connector to GP and Magento. And we also have a connector to Magento and Business Central. So, so we've been doing it for a while, but obviously I'm a little bit, even though I'm going to lose revenue because Microsoft and Shopify providing it for free, it's supposed to be a lot cooler than what we have right now. So there's some screenshots. You can take a look at it later. Development, right? I know you guys would like to have more control of your system. So GP uses dexterity. Dexterity is hard. It's extremely hard. Few people know it out there, and there's fewer now. VBA, you're limited because VBA is sitting outside. Then for integrations, you have to use eConnect. Not everybody gets eConnect, or you have to go to third-party tools. Now with Business Central, it's a lot more it has a lot more interoperability. As you're seeing now, their environment is now part of Visual Studio. It uses a code called AL. It's object-based programming or modern and web-based programming. You can do wonders with it. I've been seeing it. The amount of things a lot quicker than GP. So customers, you the customer, you have more control of it. Integration tools, we're familiar with Integration Manager, but Integration Manager is limited within GP. The system has Rapid Start, which is an integration manager that's a lot more user-friendly. You don't need technical people, the IT department to use it, and you can create on-the-fly interfaces and integration with the system. It also, something neat about the system, right? We're getting wordy with this modern life cycle support maintenance. The programming is done by extension. So we're not doing the programming with inside, it's sitting outside. So when Microsoft does the updates or the upgrades that they're doing in-house, it doesn't provide conflict. I'm not saying that it's going to be seamless all the time, but I'm saying it does work. So functionality, we have a 100-page white paper. It'll go payables. It'll go through posting deal entries. We're not going to go through that. We can spend hours in that. We do want to know licenses and implementation, right? So the first thing, you guys invested a lot of money in this. You've been running it for a lot of years. Putting a new system, it's not a new system, it's a hybrid. How different is it? Yeah, it's modern. If you're driving a 1980 Corolla and you sit on a 2023 Corolla, it's still a Toyota, but there's going to be changes in there. The difference is when you trade in a 1980 Corolla now to Toyota, they'll give you $500, $2,000 for it. When you trade in GP, Microsoft gives you, I've done like 40 of these already, and nobody has had to pay anything when they trade in their GP and they get their Navision. Or Business Central, sorry. So basically, under your current enhancement program, if you're current, you get all this new stuff, the 2023 Corolla, just by trading in your old Corolla. Or let's say you want to go SaaS, then Microsoft does give you a credit via a very aggressive discount to go SaaS. So there's people here who have Dynamics 365 CRM. I know a lot of you are very happy running it on the cloud, right? So what's going to happen when you take BC up on the cloud is going to be more tightly integrated, right? And if it worked already, gonna work on the ERP. So you save on the local servers, on having the local IT maintenance. You go under the same cycle as the CRM. Every new version is more and more tightly integrated. Power BI is embedded under there. So it's a pretty cool vision. You take a look at Oracle, they have NetSuite. NetSuite doesn't have a CRM system. They have Siebel. Siebel doesn't speak to anything else. You have SAP, same story. You have Salesforce, they don't have an ERP. The only company that has fully been able to do all of this with AI, with machine learning right now, it's Microsoft, and it's 3 years and licenses. So I'll give you some costing over here. GP, a lot of you guys bought it modules and users. It's been changing over the years. The last licensing structure is you pay $5,000 one time, you get 3 users, and then depending on your country, you pay between $1,800 to $3,000 for additional concurrent user. By the way, this will change July of this year. And with Business Central, you just pay $70. It's named users, it's not concurrent users. Let me make that clarification. When Microsoft shifts you from here to here, they will give you more named users that you have concurrent. So, you know, there's a, let's say I say a fair formula in here. I don't know if a lot of you remember this, but before GP had GP had the starter pack, which had a whole bunch of modules, and then they had the extended pack or the advanced pack, which basically gave you manufacturing, project management, and other things. That's the same case over here in Business Central, so that is similar. Cost comparison, I just went over that. This is what I mentioned, starter pack. So as you can see, they're very similar, like the other slide already told you. On the ERP side, it's just, you know, you go to PO in one of them, or you go into intercompany in Business Central, or you go into workflows in Business Central, you go to landed cost in Business Central. It's has a lot more features and functions than GP, but the overall structure, finance and everything, it's about the same. Something I really like about Business Central is because Microsoft's trying to move everybody. I know we've always had issues finding information on GP for training or certifications. That's not the case right now. Microsoft has a lot of free information. Optimus, we're doing a training a week on Business Central for free, live consultant on a webinar. We go through a VAR and GL and this and that, and then we start the cycle over again. And then we do a training on PayPal, and we've done training on machine learning and Power BI. So we're doing that on a monthly basis, kind of like open source. This is, for example, this is what you get in GP documentation, the payments modules. Again, the knowledge base that Microsoft's providing is a lot more. There is a trial version that people can get with Business Central. Data migration, this is where the hype rate comes into place, and this is where I'm circling everything back. Basically, Microsoft has built already, let's say, some tools to move your data. When I'm saying your data, I'm not saying opening balances. I'm talking about if you want to bring in detailed general ledger data. If I'm not saying 100% either, and it's not going to count for developments, but there are tools by Microsoft. They've been working on this for years that you can bring in sort of data, at least to a queue from GP and migrate it over. We ourselves, we've developed a lot of templates already because we've done this multiple times. Well, let me jump over here and think I had a slide. Had a slide somewhere. I had a slide somewhere, and so basically we have our own templates already pre-built in Excel to move data from one place to another. We have the Microsoft tools. We also have another tool that we provide for more detailed data to be brought in. We've done this multiple times. So the templates are there to migrate data, bring in detailed data. A lot of times, you know, we all say trash in, trash out. So a lot of people, you know, we're having people who are saying, you know what, just leave that GP data over there. I don't want to clean it up. I don't want to mess it because the GP data is not clean. By you migrating it, it's not going to get clean, right? So, you know, a lot of people are just saying, you know what, I don't need this. You can still save your GP database your accounting, your auditors can still access all of that data, right? Just, so it's not that you're gonna lose all of that data, or we can bring that data into a data warehouse, do some reports for a period of time, like year-end report and this and that, and compare this. And then with that said, I want to present Jorge Machado.